Now, look at this guy. Look at this guy. You're probably not very happy about that. Most people don't like seeing these. They're microscopic. They're everywhere around us. Glad they're not as big as we are, because I wouldn't want to see one of these things face to face. But as I just mentioned, when you touch your skin or just the natural process, skin cells are exfoliating off. Lots of them. Think of all the people in the world always shedding their skin. We have lots and lots of skin cells. These are dust mites. Most household dust that we think of is actually dead skin cells. Now, there's some really arid climates like ASU. We're here in Phoenix, Arizona. It's pretty dry, it's pretty hot. A lot of our dust is actual dirt. But especially in more humid environments, when you look at the dust that starts to accumulate on furniture in your house, things like that, that's skin cells. Those are cells that you're shedding and other people or pets in your house are shedding. So most of our household dust is dead skin, and these guys like to eat it. So they need a nutrient source. They are a living animal, and they've got to ingest something. So a lot of people have what are called house dust allergies. Shouldn't say a lot of people, but some people do. That allergy is not actually to dust in the house or to skin cells. That allergy is actually to the feces of these little guys. Because like any animal, they eat, they ingest nutrients, and they excrete waste. And they're found everywhere there's skin cells, which there's skin cells in a lot of places in our environment. Some of these guys actually live on our skin. There's some mites that live, especially, for example, in the follicles of our eyelashes. And they do a favor for us. They seem gross, but they're actually helping with our ecosystem, and they're helping us because we wouldn't want to get buried in all of these skin cells. So they're cleaning those up. And the ones that live in the follicles of your eyelashes actually eat the cells as they're being exfoliated so that they don't fall into your eyes. But think about this. There's always a good balance. I always say everything in moderation. If you never clean and all of these cells build up, you have this great nutrient source for the dust mites, and they have a party. You're going to have more and more and more of them. So let's say you don't wash the sheets on your bed for like a month. Imagine all of the dust mites that are living there in your sheets, because they're on your sheets, they're on your pillows, they're on your furniture. You might have this feeling right now that you want to go clean everything, wash your sheets, get rid of them. You would never want to get rid of all of these dust mites. They are providing an important service for us. But on the same hand, you don't want to have too many. You've got to control the population. So don't go nuts and think you have to wash your sheets every single day, clean your bed, get rid of all the dust mites. But at the same hand, you do want to clean up, because more and more of these you have, the more and more dust mite feces you have in your house. And that can sometimes cause problems. Okay, the dermis. Now we're down to our lower layer of the skin. It's typically about 0.2 to 4 millimeters thick in some area. It's made up of fibrous connective tissue at the bottom, and there's collagen protein, and some elastic and reticular fibers. The dermis is highly vascular, so lots of blood vessels here. The blood vessels have to not only supply the tissue of the dermis, but also the cells of the epidermis as well. This is where we find our accessory structures, our hair follicles, sebaceous glands, sweat glands, nail roots on our fingers and our toes, nerve endings. All of this originates or is associated with the dermis. This dermal papilla, those are what I just described as moving up into the epidermis. So where you see it sometimes going up and then back down, those are the papilla. Those papilla actually, you see them very deep on like your fingers. It's what forms your fingerprints. Smooth muscle is associated with our dermis. Smooth muscle, you don't have control over it. It contracts all on its own due to autonomic innervation. That's what causes goosebumps. Those goosebumps are caused by piloerector muscles associated with the dermis of the skin. And when they contract, they pull on the hair follicles, and that causes the hair to stand up on end. Can happen, with emotions. If you get angry sometimes, it can cause those piloerector muscles to contract. Goosebumps in humans don't really have a big function except to make us aware of our emotions sometimes. But in other animals, sometimes that plays a very important role. In other animals, if they're threatened, these piloerector muscles contract. It makes the hair stand on end, and it makes an animal appear larger than it actually is. And if an animal appears larger, maybe a predator or something that's going to bother it thinks twice about that. In humans, we're not going to scare anybody by having goosebumps. Also, in the face, the dermis is associated with skeletal muscles. Skeletal muscles you do have voluntary control over, and those are the ones that are responsible for your facial expressions, which is an important way to communicate with other people. Our dermis actually has 2 layers. The most superficial layer of the dermis is referred to as the papillary layer, and beneath that you've got the reticular layer. Actually, different types of connective tissue form these 2 different layers. So our papillary layer is areolar tissue. Remember that areolar tissue is fibrous connective tissue that's very loosely organized. There's not as many fibers in it. There's plenty of room for blood vessels, nerve endings, things like that. Also, because it's so loose, white blood cells can move through there very easily. And we want to have some white blood cells there to make sure that foreign invaders aren't getting in, that the bad guys aren't getting into our body. Reticular layer is much thicker. It makes up about 4/5 of the thickness of the dermis, and that's made up of dense, irregular connective tissue. Remember, dense, irregular connective tissue has fibers running in all different directions, so it has the ability to stretch in a variety of directions. You can pull on your skin from any direction and get a little bit of pull there. Lots of collagen associated with the dermis, and it's these collagen fibers that can be responsible for stretch marks. Stretch marks occur when somebody, an area of their body expands very rapidly. Stretch marks are very common in women during pregnancy, on the abdomen and the breasts. They can also be common if somebody gains a lot of weight very rapidly. So the dermis doesn't get time to expand, and still it stretches those collagen fibers and causes stretch marks. There's also a few adipocytes associated with the dermis. Adipocytes, remember, are fat cells. Not so many. Most adipocytes are associated with the hypodermis or the subcutaneous layer, but we've got a few there in our dermis. Here's our hypodermis. Again, I told you hypodermis, subcutaneous tissue means exactly the same thing. I'm also going to throw another term at you here. Superficial fascia. Superficial fascia is another term for the hypodermis. There's a difference in when we use these terms, though. When we're talking about the skin and this layer beneath, we say hypodermis or subcutaneous layer. When we're talking about muscles, we call that exact same layer the superficial fascia. So fascia is connective tissue that's associated with muscles. And the hypodermis is associated with both the skin and the muscles because it's found in between those tissues. When we talk about muscles later on, you'll be hearing us call that superficial fascia. It helps anchor the skin to the tissues beneath. If you look here, you see all of this yellow tissue, all of these yellow cells. Those are all the adipocytes. So lots of fat cells there. That's referred to as our subcutaneous fat, fat beneath the skin. And that serves a role for cushioning. It helps protect the muscles beneath the skin or other things that might be beneath the skin. So the hypodermis, because of all of this fat here, functions as an energy reservoir. Your body is not getting enough energy from the foods that you're eating, can pull some out of these adipocytes. Also serves for thermal insulation, helps conserve body heat. The animal